let's start by introducing ourselves. My name is Erik Lering. I'm a second year mathematics student and part of the education committee. So today we'll be interviewing Clara, and well, that's more or less enough about me.
I'm Lavinia, I'm a second year and I'm a newbie for the education committee.
I am Thomas and I am a first year mathematics student and I'm also new to the education committee.
And I'm Clara and I will be the general adjunct of the next Abacus board.
So Clara, can you tell us where you are from?
So I'm from Amersfoort, so I'm from the Netherlands, but not from Enschede.
And also, how long have you been at the UT?
So for now, I've been in Enschede for 1 year at the UT. Before that, I actually also studied in Enschede, but I left for almost 5 years and I was in Eindhoven then.
And now you're back.
Yes.
In any case, good to have you back. I hope you'll stay maybe a bit longer now than 1 year. So can you tell us if you are maybe married? And do you have any children?
So I'm not married, so I have a boyfriend. We are together for almost 11 years now. And we have a 5-month-old son now.
That's really nice. How's your son doing?
Yeah, he's doing very well. He's learning to roll. He's smiling a lot, crying a lot, sleeping not so much. So I think the typical baby.
Yeah, small children somehow tend to do that.
Yes.
And I would like to ask you some personality questions for the introduction. So first of all, I would like to know if you could choose to live anywhere, where would you choose to live?
Yeah, so I think 2 or 3 years back, we went on a holiday to Tyrol in Austria, and I really liked that. So I think if I could, I would definitely live there. So we were there in summer, so you have a lot of mountains, you can hike. The view is great because it's green, but you see the white snow on top of the mountains. So if I could work from there and see the mountains all the time and just go out if you want, I think that would be very nice.
So you think when you go on a vacation and stuff like that, then it is important that you are able to walk around, do hiking, do some sightseeing? Or do you also think it's important to just lay on the beach?
I really enjoy both.
Both? Okay,
yes.
Yeah. So then Austria, I guess, does have a beach.
Yeah, no, so
also...
if you want to go somewhere with a nice beach, then Austria is not the best place to go.
When we start having like a constitution drink again, and of course as a board member you can be present there, will you be there when it opens?
Yes, of course.
That's very good to hear. And also if you are coming, will you bring your boyfriend with you?
So I can try and ask him, but in fact he was an Abacus board member when I started studying, so maybe I could even persuade him to join me.
Yeah.
He would definitely like it if he has time.
That's really cool, actually, to have both of you there. Let's hope that at least we can do something with that. And then one more question about this. Are there any life kind of rules that you try to live by?
Yeah, so I think one of the most important things is for me is to try to treat people like you wish to be treated as well, just with respect, and try to be nice as much as possible. Especially when you don't have a lot of sleep, try to still be nice. Think before you say something which is maybe not very friendly.
Yeah, this is something that you probably have learned from
Yes.
experience, I think. Well, in that case, let's continue to some other topic.
Yeah, so I'd like to ask you something about your hobbies and what you like to do in your free time. So can you tell us something about your hobbies?
Yeah, so one thing I really like is doing sports. So I did many different kinds of sports during my life. So I did synchronized swimming, for example, when I was younger. When I was at the university, I did floorball, which is some sort of indoor ice hockey without ice and without skates. But it's really nice. I did some swimming, I did running. Yeah, so these are things I really like. I did some CrossFit, but for now I'm starting to get back to running.
So about these many sports that you did, is there maybe one that was your favorite?
Well, I think at the point when I was doing them, I really liked most of them, except for the swimming. I really didn't like just swimming back and forth. But the others I really liked. So I think if you want to try a sport that you can very easily join, you can definitely try floorball because it's really fun. You have to, yeah, and you can. It's not very difficult to learn.
A favorite piece of art, film, or literature like that you want to share with us?
Yeah, so recently I read a very nice book. I read the book, what was it called? The Last Days of Night by Graham Moore, which is very nice. It's basically a thriller, but it's also about science. So it's like in the 19th century when there was still, well, the light bulb had been invented, but it was only in some people's homes, but not everywhere. And then Thomas Edison starts fighting with all kinds of other people who also claim they invent the light bulb. And they start having fights, and it's really like a thriller, but it's also based on Nikola Tesla, Thomas Edison, and all these kinds of great scientists of that time. So I thought it was very fun to read. Maybe not 100% accurate, but still very nice.
Do you like to read about science, like in your free time, as books and stuff?
No, so usually I don't really read a lot about science, but one of my also sort of hobby is science communication. So telling about my research to non-scientists. So as that, I really like the fact that this is also some sort of science communication where you tell something about science, but in like a thriller form, where you tell about alternating current and invention of light bulbs, electricity, but in a very, attractive way for people who are maybe not super interested in the lives and works of Thomas Edison.
Okay, so what are you currently occupied with?
Yeah, so one thing, well, staying at home like everybody, I guess, trying to still see people without leaving your home. These kinds of things also, so a lot of people tell me, so they're kind of bored. So for me, that doesn't really hold because, with a baby, you're not really bored. And also, I wouldn't leave the house so much anyway. So for me, nothing much has changed. I haven't left my house since December, basically. So, it's possible to stay indoors and stay perfectly sane. And other than that, we're now trying to, so we bought a house last year, and we are now, so last year we did a lot of work on the house, and now we're trying to work on the garden, try to see if we, because it's only, now there are no plants in the garden, so we would like to have it a bit more green than it is right now.
And what kind of activities do you try to do then to keep in contact with everybody?
Yeah, so so meeting online. So with people from statistics at the university, we have a board game night every Saturday evening. So we meet and we play online board games on this website where you can play board games online. Yesterday we did an online pop quiz where you just sit on a couch and every couple of weeks there's an online pop quiz, and we joined and did really bad, I think, but it's still fun.
How was your student life like? Did you get into study associations at be active at Abacus or some sport association?
Yeah, so I did several things. So I was most active, I would say, in the floorball association. There I did the board, and I organized sports tournaments and stuff. I also did some things at Abacus. So I was in the Ideal committee, the magazine. And I was also in a study trip organization at some point. We went to Germany, so not very far as you go these days, but it was still a lot of fun.
Well, for the next part, the topic will be more about the board of Abacus, so for example, why you joined, and well, actually a question that you already answered, so if you were active in the study association. But well, to begin, why did you actually decide to become general adjunct of the Abacus board the coming year?
So the honest answer is that Tutsche asked very nicely. And then, of course, you don't say no.
I think it's possible to decline if you're busy.
Yeah, no, so I also thought it would be a fun way to, because I've been here for 1 year now, so it would be fun to get to know more people, also get to know the students, see what they're doing.
And are you looking forward to your board year?
Yes, of course.
What do you think of the rest of the candidate board?
Yeah, so I don't know them very well, so we met 2 weeks ago or so, and yeah, we had a nice meeting, and we told each other where we're from and what they're planning to do. So yeah, it seems nice.
Did you do a lot of stuff, or maybe a bit of stuff last year with the association as well?
No, I don't think I did very much last year. No, I don't remember anything basically, so probably not.
So you'll be able to get to know Abacus all over again a bit.
Are there any specific plans you have for the coming years, or anything specific you would like to achieve?
Not yet. So I think also the candidate board, they will make their plans for next year during summer. And then I think we can together discuss also what would be nice to achieve next year. But I think probably the one big issue for next year, obviously, is how to make sure that there's still enough contact, well, of course, between the students and between the employees, but also between the students and the employees, while probably not being able to meet in person very much. So how can we still have this nice interaction without the physical building of the Zilverling where we're always at?
But at least you do want to get to know like the students a bit more, and
yes, definitely, yeah, and see how it works at Abacus, and yeah.
The next part will be about mathematics, since you know we are all, well, you more than us, mathematicians. And well, how did you actually become interested in mathematics?
Yeah, so my father actually studied mathematics. So I guess I was a bit raised by it. So for example, when I grew up, so I would eat a sandwich for breakfast, and my father would cut it into 12 pieces, and I had to eat it in this night jump way. So I could eat one part, and then you had to make this night jump. I could eat the other part, and then you had to puzzle in such a way to be able to finish your sandwich without getting stuck. So these kinds of things I was really raised with. So I guess these are all kinds of mathematical things that probably the children without a mathematician as a parent don't grow up with, maybe. So in that sense, I think it started very early.
Did you actually enjoy having to puzzle for your breakfast?
Yeah, I think both my brother and me, we enjoyed it very much. But my brother went into law, so even if you enjoy these kinds of puzzles when you're young, it doesn't really mean anything.
Why was your choice the University of Twente?
Yeah, so to be honest, I didn't really know what I was going to study. So I wanted to study biomedical engineering, and then that was only at University of Twente and in Eindhoven, and then I decided to go to Twente. But then I think somewhere in July I changed my mind, and I thought maybe I want to study mathematics, and then I stuck with Twente University. So it wasn't a very conscious, well thought through decision, I would say.
But are you glad that you still came to Twente then?
Yeah, I really liked. I'm glad I studied mathematics. I'm glad I went to Twente. I had a great time. So yeah.
And what is your favorite piece of mathematics?
Yeah, so one thing I really like in mathematics is the pigeonhole principle. So it's extremely straightforward. If you hear it, like if you have n+1 pigeons and you only have n holes, then there must be at least one hole where 2 pigeons sit into, because they won't fit, otherwise it won't fit. So if you have n spaces and n+1 things, then at least one space needs to have 2 things in it. So it's actually, if you hear it like this, you think, oh, this is so extremely straightforward. Why would this be a mathematical principle at all? But it's sometimes fun to see that you can actually apply this principle in ways that are not very straightforward. For example, you can use this pigeonhole principle to show that in any network, there are always 2 people with the same amount of friends. And that's, of course, it's a more difficult, if you think about it, it seems much more difficult. But then if you rephrase it, it comes back to this very trivial thing. And then you think, maybe it wasn't so bad to have this pigeonhole principle. That sounds so trivial, you can explain it to everyone, but still it's useful.
And do you think that the pigeonhole principle is also an attractive piece of mathematics for people other than mathematicians?
I don't think so. I'm not sure. I would guess not, because probably they would think, why would this be useful at all? So I often give presentations about mathematics for non-mathematicians, and I have never tried to use this. So maybe I can try it at some point and see if it works, but I usually try to show nice kinds of mathematical things that also have some application, for example, in networks, but it can also be other things. For example, I was at a primary school, and then I explained to them that about Santa Claus, how he has to deliver all the packets and what will be the optimal route, and how you can see that, how you can calculate that, and that is very difficult. And they really liked it. So they really liked the fact that you see some applications, and they were puzzling about Santa Claus.
You sound really enthusiastic, but mathematics is really broad. Are there any subjects that you particularly like and any that you don't like?
Yeah, so it's not really like liking and not liking. I mean, so in your bachelor, you get all these different types of courses, and I really like that. And then you go into your master's and you specialize a bit, and then you do, if you then continue working at a university and do research, and you specialize even more. So it's good if you do a specialization that you like. So I'm now working with these large networks and probability. I really like it, but I have to admit that there are some parts of mathematics that I really almost forgot, basically. So it's not that I don't like them, but I don't see them so much anymore. For example, differential equations, how to solve them. I mean, I did like it when I was a student, but for now I just wouldn't have a clue what to do anymore.
We wanted to ask also a bit about your work and research. Can you tell us about the work that you are usually doing, like last year, for example?
Yeah, so we work at a university consists of different things. So one thing is, of course, teaching. So last year for teaching, I taught, I was a lecturer in this Introduction to Mathematics and Calculus course for first-year students from many different backgrounds. And also I taught the master course, Stochastic Processes. So that's very different. That's for master students that specialize, have a very specific specialization, whereas this calculus is, of course, for anyone who doesn't study mathematics, basically. So these are things that you do. And beside that, I do research. So that's the other part of my job. So I did a lot of teaching in this first half year, so I didn't do so much research. And what I also did is I tried to, so if you do research, you sometimes you have to have these research grants. So you have to get money from somewhere that thinks, oh, this is a very nice project. Please give me money so that I can do this. So I was working on one of those things. I'm not sure how this will work out. The probability that these things, that you actually get these grants is very low. But of course, it doesn't hurt to try.
And what kind of research do you want to do, and are you doing?
Yeah, so right now I started a new project which I think is actually very fun with someone from Utrecht University. So we are looking at how effective contact tracing is in networks. So we suppose there's a network and some epidemic is spreading across it, and maybe some people who have the disease they report, and they, with some probability, they localize who infected them, and then this infection stops, at least from the person who was traced. And we're now investigating for different types of networks, how effective is this? How much does it help? Of course, it's better than no tracing, but does it really help? How much does it help? It's relevant, and it's also it also is mathematically very interesting. So I think that's a very nice combination.
But it sounds like there will be lots of people interested in maybe funding this and helping out with this.
Yeah, so I definitely know that I'm also not the only person who's doing it. So there are many people also doing research for example, biologists are doing research, but of course from a different perspective, because they know how diseases work. So many people are indeed right now interested in these kinds of things from different perspectives, and I think that's a very nice field to work in.
It's also nice to see that mathematicians still, in these times, still have a lot of value to add.
Yeah, it's different. So as a mathematician, of course, you get some very broad, because you get some equations and you can learn from that. You can say, what's the influence of this? What's the influence of that? But of course, as a mathematician, you don't know how a real disease works and what kind of parameters you should choose in all kinds of models. And of course, a real disease is always much more complicated than your mathematical model, but still you get some insights like, what is the influence of what the network looks like? So if you have a lot of connections, does the tracing help more, or does it actually make it less effective? All these kinds of broad general statements you can really easily derive from mathematics.
What do you like most about your work?
So I think there are several things I really enjoy. So I like interaction with students while teaching. I also like the fact that you have a lot of freedom in types of questions you investigate. So if you think, oh, this is a very interesting thing, I would like to see how this works, you can do that. So you can basically, decide. So no one really tells you, oh, now you have to do this, now you have to do that. And also one other thing I really like is talking to about your work to non-mathematicians, because a lot of people are actually very interested in what you can do with mathematics. They don't want to see all the horrible details. But a lot of people, sometimes they come up to you after when you present something about what you can do with mathematics, and they say, oh, I didn't know you could do such things with mathematics. I thought it was just like solving equations and that everything had been solved already.
What is the favorite thing that you've done or you've seen in your career?
So I think there are two favorite works. So one is more scientific, I would say. So we had a publication which was also about epidemic. I did a lot of work which is not about epidemics, but this one I really like, and it is about epidemics. So we had a very nice paper where we showed what is the influence of small kinds of groups in a network. So if you have very small groups of friends that are very much connected, but they're maybe not so much connected to the rest of your network. So you have soccer friends, you have your fellow students, all kinds of groups of friends that you belong to, and they have a lot of connections between them. And we investigated what is the influence of these types of groups on the spreading of an epidemic. And there we did some mathematics, but we also did some data analysis, and we came to some nice conclusions. And this paper where we wrote that was actually, it's doing really well, and people seem to really like these kinds of insights. So do these groups of friends slow down an epidemic, or do they speed it up? Kinds of questions like that. And apparently it's very difficult. There's not one answer. Both things can happen. So, but that also means that these kinds of things are very important. You cannot just assume they will slow things down or they will speed things up. You really need to make good models.
Yeah.
And another favorite, so I also had a blog when I was doing my PhD, so up to a couple years ago. And then I think I did some also really nice analysis, like, for example, can you quantify who's like the the most important musician in collaborations between different music types? Can you sort of say something about what is the probability that the specific country will win the world championship? Things like that I wrote about, and I also think that's very nice.
Is there any of the work, by the way, that you've written that you think is maybe for students of Abacus nice to read and have a look at also?
Yeah, so I think this particular paper is not too mathematical, so it's definitely readable. I also had a blog about muesli ingredients. Yeah, so apparently in Germany you can make your own muesli. So you just buy the ingredient, you go to a website and you order the ingredients, and then you can make a network of which ingredients are most often bought with which other ingredients. And then you can see really nice, so it's not, this is also more visualization than mathematics, but you can really see which kinds of muesli, how the muesli networks look like. That strawberries are very popular, chocolates also, and that some combinations are very popular, others are not popular.
If that's it, then I think we can conclude more or less the interview.
Thanks a lot for being here and for answering the questions.